You know, let's call it a week of middle-class smartphones, cause after having Galaxy A31, the next one's got to my hands was OPPO A91. That takes place almost back-to-back to Reno's sub-flagship line. I can already say that it's almost a clone of Reno 3. But anyway, there must be a reason why it's less expensive. So, welcome to Tech Fellas, my name is Bogdan, and should you ever take a look at this phone? Find out in our today's review. So this time let's begin with the outer look. The smartphone is not some kind of unique things, but certainly looks in all traditions of middle class of 2020. It has got a plastic body and a chrome finished frame with tinted lacquer. The back panel is glossy, there is an overflow without which it would be odd to realize that this is a smartphone from OPPO. As for ergonomics, it is relatively not bad, even despite the large screen. Some daily stuff like texting is easy to do with one hand, but to feel the maximum convenience, it is still better to use it with two hands. In regards to body holes, the Type-C port is working as USB 2.0 that not so long ago appeared even in pre-flagship devices from Chinese brands, and it was okay, so I think we won't blame A91 for that. I bet you already saw a mini jack port, so let's rejoice together. And the card drawer here is just what human deserves. If the need for an audio output is somewhere missing in 2020 trends, the possibility to insert two SIM cards together with microSD will definitely please any naughty person. The fingerprint reader takes place under the screen. It is optical, which is quite obvious. Check out how it works. If to judge by the speed, I'd say it is okay, since the device doesn't unlock very fast. It's more than fine, but not that great. As for stability, if there is no dirt on the protective film or glass, and your finger is in normal condition and definitely belongs to you, then it should work decently, and you won't have to poke the icon 5 times in a row. The smartphone also will recognize your face using the front camera. During the day, its speed is lighting fast. At night, even despite the eye-burning backlight, there can be problems, since the camera is not almighty after all. In settings, you can find the closed eyes filter, so the evil won't look through your pictures while you sleep deeply, counting gods or days when all that COVID stuff gone away. So the phone welcomes you with 6.4-inch Full HD Plus screen made by AMOLED technology. It's absolutely readable in a bright sun. There are no complaints to the maximum brightness if to take the price class, but the minimum could have been dimmer. For someone who just cannot fall asleep without surfing through TikTok in complete darkness with the lowest backlight, there is this dimming for making it less damaging for your eyes. By default, PWM becomes aggressive at the brightness below a quarter. At near the minimum, with current control turned on, you can spot how dark objects jump on the bright one a bit stronger than without this dimming, but in my humble opinion, it's not critical. OPPO didn't chip out on always on display too. You can simply turn it on, no special settings with different themes or modifications. As well as color corrector might let you down, cause it can only be adjusted by the white balance, and no option to make it saturated or mild. The hardware part of A91 is all about MediaTek MT6771V chip, also known as Helio P70. Inside there is a processor with 8 cores, 4 of which work at 2.1 GHz and the rest at 2 GHz. Also, the graphics unit is Mali G72MP3. The model has 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage that will make many people forget about installing a microSD and makes it less necessary to close apps all the time. Actually, smartphone itself does it decently and gets rid of heavy software junk and RAM without your consent, even when you simply lock the screen. In daily tasks, the hardware gives nice performance with fast opening apps and without fierce lags when scrolling pages. In games, we were more or less satisfied, but nothing special. Simple stuff works perfectly, but demanding one is best to be left aside, or lower the graphics at least to medium or even to low, so that you have sane FPS number. For instance, World of Tanks Blitz runs decently on such settings here. Now you might wonder how does it hit the battery. It is 40-25 mAh and clearly knows whose phrase to steal to describe itself.
I could do this all day.
Indeed, it was not easy to discharge A91 in one day with typical loads for normal person. Even when rolling benchmark tests and shooting every flaw on the camera, I couldn't set it low until the evening. In general, with this phone, you will have to search for the charger once in 1.5, sometimes 2 days. So to say, when charging it from branded accessories, in 5 minutes it will get 8%, in 10 minutes 15%, in 15 minutes they will be 23%, in half an hour 46%, and in 1 hour and 10 minutes you will get a fully charged smartphone. It also has a full load of cameras, but 2 of them are rather for making a crowd. The first among those 2 is a depth sensor, and the second one is kinda a sidekick black and white camera, both with 2 megapixels, and you just can't shoot on them. The rest is the wide angle and ultra wide angle modules with 48 and 8 megapixels respectively. The shots from the ultra wide lens doesn't reach the top, but also are not a complete bottom. There is a smearing along the edges of the frame and quite prominent distortions, but on the other hand, the cameras give shots with decent dynamic range and captures a lot of space in front. Alas, it's impossible to praise the sharpness on photos. Here it significantly bows down to the one taken on the main cam, and it's not surprising because it's only 6 times more pixels in metrics of the latter one. In any case, the highest clarity on such photos we've seen only when shooting on Huawei P40 Pro, but it has its own drills and the price segment is completely different. So let's return to A91. What I was surprised about is that you can take close-up shots on the ultra-wide lens. There is nothing supernatural in them, but the fact that such camera can focus on nearby objects is stunning. It also's got zooming, but you may have guessed that it's purely a software one. On some pictures the camera really tries to hide that, but in most cases, even at 2 times zoom, it feels kinda sharpened crop. So to say, the original pics from where its zoomed clones are made are quite decent. In difficult conditions, dynamic range may not be enough, but HDR saves the day. Speaking of which, in most cases, HDR doesn't make photos look kinda with a cheap synthetic tone of enhanced counter sharpness, or a flow with over-dimmed overexposure spots. In total, the camera is not a flagship grade, but in at least a bit experienced hands, you can shoot on it nicely even in difficult conditions. If talking about videos, the maximum resolution here is Full HD. When shooting, you can only use zoom, and to switch to an ultra-wide angle cam, you need to restart the recording. In general, the quality of such videos by today's standards is not high. Fans of the brand can only praise them for the fact that this phone can take such clips. Just adding, there is some stabilization, and while I'm just talking to make this clip longer, just check the video sample, and we are moving to the front camera. Selfies come out not really bad at all. A pity that the clarity of outcoming photos is upsetting. At least dynamic range is nice, thanks to which the sky remains natural and doesn't turn into a burning hell. As the built-in acoustics, there's only one speaker living at the bottom. It sings on the mediocre level. In volume, it's definitely not a groundbreaking record and not even close to melodic Reno 3 Pro. Regarding messages and other notifications or incoming calls, no trouble. You will hear all of it, but for example, talking on a speakerphone near a 6-lane road will be hardly possible. Thanks to the headphone jack, I can speak about the sound quality, and it's quite standard here, detailed on average, clean, without fierce distortions. I also noticed that the sound here is slightly more dry than in many of smartphone's competitors. There are some software enhancements. Fortunately, it's not Atmos, but real HD sound technology developed together with the RAG company that apparently knows the ropes in portable audio. When you turn on this thing, even without any equalizer, the sound becomes juicy, more detailed and musical, and all that without pushing it too far and messing the things up. In total, the thing is at least worth trying. Summarizing the stuff, OPPO A91 is indeed a budget version of Reno 3 with a simpler but still good hardware, without telephoto lens but with nice battery, a decent screen, shooting capabilities and not a shaggy design. But is it worth $370? If to think from Xiaomi perspective, it's a solid no, as for this money the company seemingly offers the flagship of the last year at its very cost. However, knowing what exactly A91 gives less than Reno 3 and that it costs $75 less, I'd say that the price is quite fair. In short, if you fancy OPPO products, you can buy A91 without a glimpse, as we didn't find any secret tricks in here. And of course, if you know about the existence of Realme and want to get more fun for even less cost, take a look at something from their lineup. The links to our reviews will be in the description box below, as well as the links to the internet stores where you can buy this guy. And if you like this video, then why not to support our channel by subscribing to it, hitting the like button, ringing the bell to stay tuned for more cool content. My thanks for watching, and cheers!